Welcome to Levan-Techa tutorials, where we're elevating craft through technology. So this time we're going to go over how to control your LEDs using a microcontroller, in this case an Arduino. So we're going to use an Arduino Uno, which looks like this. I know it may look scary, but it's, promise you, we're going to get through this and it's not that bad. So there's that. And you know how it goes here, handy dandy breadboard. This time we don't actually need a battery, which is cool. You need a way to connect the Arduino, so here's the cord for it. This connects directly to the Arduino, and this one connects to your computer. Of course, we need some wires to get everything connected together. Got your trusty LED. And don't forget, we need a resistor. So that's roughly what you're gonna need today. So let's start getting things set up. So microcontrollers are typically used to control different components. So we're just gonna focus on blinking an LED today. And you see these numbers here? They're each for a digital register to control specific things. And that's how that's kind of like the indicator of what matches in the code for it to work. So right now we're just assembling the electronics, making sure it's together. We'll go over the code later. So we're going to be using port 13. So we're going to go ahead and get that connected. See, it is connected at port 13. Excuse me, this is ground. This is port 13. There we go. It's always good to double check things. We do need a connection to the negative side, so let's get this grounded. There we go. Now that that is set up, that is the only connections we need to the actual microcontroller. Let's crack out that breadboard and start getting the LEDs together. So remember, longer side is positive, shorter side is negative. On the actual head, flatter side is negative, regular side is positive. So let's go ahead and get that in row 20 and row 18. Again, you can have it spread out more or less. This is just how I have it. Then we're gonna take the resistor. Beauty of using a resistor, which by the way, this is 220 ohms. You can have it on either side, the positive or negative, and it'll still have the same effect. For a rule of thumb, I typically do the negative side, but for demonstration purposes, well, let's just put it on the negative side. That's fine, which is this side here. So it's connected directly into row 18, so that way it's connected to the LED, and then it's on row 14. So we're gonna need the negative side. Well, let's just connect this to, the negative side here. So remember, our purple wire is connected to ground, and the controller is connected to the positive side. So following this with our finger again, it goes up the yellow wire, goes into the LED, to the resistor, and then to the negative side to ground. So why isn't this lighting up? Well, we don't have a power source, which when you connect the Arduino to the computer, it actually acts as a power source. Fun fact. And also, we don't have any code uploaded. So make sure we connect that. Let's get this connected to the computer. Ooh. So that shows that it is connected. You saw that blinking. Let's move forward.
Okay. And this is what's used to be able to connect with the Arduino specifically. So this is roughly what the layout is going to look like. This is how you check to see if the code runs correctly. This is how to upload it to the actual microcontroller itself. Voice setup only runs once. So when you run the code, this is setting up your properties, initializing. So it's only ran once. But anything that you put into loop is ran infinite times. So it just keeps repeating until you upload a new kind of code or you actually make breaks within your code here. So what you're going to need to do is first make sure you pick the correct board. So we're going to be using Arduino Uno. In case this doesn't show up like this, you're going to go into Arduino AVR boards and make sure you select Arduino Uno. Then you need to make sure you click the correct port. Right now nothing's plugged into my computer, so that's why this is grayed out, but you would need to pick the port that is connected to the actual Arduino board. So since we are making an LED blink, let's go ahead and go over the code for that. So first things first, we need to make sure it matches with the pins that we connected to earlier. So we're going to use the function pin mode. And for syntax, you always have these parentheses and a semicolon at the end. This is very important. And pin mode takes two parameters. The first one is the number of the pin that you're using. The second one is, so here would be a number, and then here would be either input or output. So things that it's taking in or things that it's sending out. So in this case, we want the light to be emitted out. We're not taking any information from the user. So here we would put output all in all caps. When it changes color, the IDE understands that it is something that's necessary, and the number that we have that we connected to earlier is pin 13. So this all is to initialize the pin as the actual output. All right, so that's the only setup that we need for this particular code. Next, in loop, we need to set it to turn on and turn off. So we're going to need the function digital write, and then in digital write, it's similar where we need to have the correct pin, and it has to turn it on, we're going to use high, turn it off, we use low. So we're going to go ahead and copy this, copy, paste, but in this case, since we have it on and we want it blinking, we need to turn it low. So if we played this right now, it would rapidly pulse the LED on and off to the point that it won't be visible. So we need to set a delay. And the number 1,000 is equivalent to about a second. And we could always change that number, but for now, for demonstration purposes, we have to have it when it turns on, have it on for a second, then when it turns off, have it for a second. And this is generally the setup of the code. Let's go ahead and verify if this will work. Go ahead and save this. Let's call it blinking. So let's verify that this code is going to be working. Oh, look at that. I have an error. And what do you know? I spelled digital incorrectly. I should have known that. Let's go ahead and verify this code. When something is incorrect. So I just plugged in. This is how you know it's connected in the correct port. And then here is when you upload the code into the Arduino, now that it is working correctly. And that should be working. So just to kind of confirm, you need this syntax for the code to work properly. So let's say I ran it, go ahead and verified it without the semicolon here. It says they're expecting a semicolon before delay, and that is correct. That's what's missing over here. So usually when you see an error here, and sometimes they show the where things are breaking here, sometimes they don't, always search around it to see if there's missing syntax. Happens to the best of us. It's happened to me many times. Another thing is make sure everything is within these brackets to run within loop. And same thing with the setup. If any of these functions are outside of the loop, it's not going to run properly. So if I had set this here, it would probably give me some form of error. Within the right constrictions. So always remember to kind of make sure everything is written within the parameters of the loop. Otherwise, the code's not going to understand what to do. All right, so those are some basics of.
Now that we have the code set up, let's go ahead and upload it. And check that out. It is working. It's blinking. So that's how you control an LED using an Arduino, a microcontroller.